This week on Faith Lift.
He knew what to do. What did he do? He set himself to seek the Lord by proclaiming a fast to ask help of God.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad to be here with you today. First of all, I want to wish you a very happy new year. 2019 is going to be a great and awesome year for you. Now, since it is the beginning of a new year, did you know that the word year in Hebrew is the word shana? And the word shana means to change. It means to repeat. It means to do again. And it means to alter. Let me repeat it again. The Hebrew word for year is the word shana. And that word means to change. And it means to repeat. It means to do again. And it means to alter. Now, the word shana also convey the meaning of the word second, meaning to give you a second chance. So since we are at the beginning of a new year, you have a chance to once again repeat some of the successes that you had last year, or to change and alter that which you didn't like about last year. God is giving you a second chance to have victory in your life, to repeat the former successes that you had before, and a new chance, a second chance to change your life. So I want you to grab a hold of this year and bring the change that you are desiring to see in your life. It is a brand new year, so it's a brand new beginning for your life. And you ought to be excited about this brand new year. Now, every year in the month of January, believers all over the world, especially in America, as well as in Africa, and have been doing this thing for a long time. We don't even know when it started, but I'm talking about fasting. Believers all over the world will fast every year, especially in America, for 21 days. Why do they do that? Why do we do that? Why do I do that? Well, I fast because I want my year to begin right so that it can end right. So I want to talk today about the power of fasting. Also, we fast because we're believing God for direction for our life. Nothing is more important than to hear from God about your year. This is why at this time of the year in January, you're going to set some time aside. To give some time to God is crucial. To fast is to step away from the business of life, from overindulging on food, which we have done already for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for the New Year. As a matter of fact, some people just live a life of overindulgence in food. But we take the month of January seriously because we want to hear from God. God, what is it that you want me to do this year? What do you have for me in 2019? This is why I will be teaching you today from my two books, which you need to get. Number one is called 101 Explosive Benefits of Fasting. Fasting will change your life forever. And then this book here, Receiving Direction from Above. Your prosperity, your blessing is depending upon you hearing the voice of God to go in the direction in which He wants you to go. If you go your own way, now the Bible tells you there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. This is why you've got to have a spirit-led life. This is why you've got to know what is that God has for you in 2019. Now, as we take the time to fast and to pray and to seek God's direction, in our time of fasting and prayer, you want to hear from God. You want to shut down your flesh. You want to shut down the voices of the world and you want to hear the voice, the only voice that matters, and that's the voice of God. And this is why you need to pay special attention to the word that you're receiving today so that you can have a second chance in 2019, so you can repeat the former success, the success that you had in 2018. You can repeat the same success this year and then change that which you didn't like about your 2018. This is why today I want you to pay special attention as we go into today's message.
I need you to underline it in red, blue, yellow, purple. Put stars and sticks, and I don't care what you put around it, but underline it in your Bible. He proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah, and Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of the Lord. That is what fasting is. It is to ask help of God. Are you listening to me? Now, why should you ask help of God? Go with me now. You're still there. Go with me quickly to verse. This is the king now talking to God. Look at verse 11. He says, "Behold," the king talking to God about Ammon and Moab. He said, "Behold, I say thee, how they reward us to come to cast us out of thy possession." Listen to me. Anytime the enemy attacks you, is to cast you out of your possession. It's to disinherit you from what God has given you. Are you listening? Now, look what it says in verse 12. "O our God, will you not judge them? For we have no might." Say no might. We have no might against this great company that comes against us, neither know we what to do. How many of you have ever been in a place and in a situation where you don't know what to do? Well, when you don't know what to do, when he didn't know what to do, he knew what to do. What did he do? He set himself to seek the Lord by proclaiming a fast to ask help of God. And he says, we don't know what to do, but our eyes are upon you only. Lift up your hands, say, my eyes. Come on, say, my eyes. The word of God says, I will lift up my eyes from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord. When you fast, you're getting your eyes off your own arsenal, off your own commandos, off your own hands, and you're putting your eyes upon God. Now, it is my every intention tonight to irritate you, to get you to fast. Amen. Look at me. The modern church today, fasting is not for us today, because that's works. That's the law. Well, why don't you go tell it to Jesus? Why don't you go tell it to the Apostle Paul? Huh? Fasting has nothing to do with your salvation. But it has everything to do with your consecration and with your amplification. Are you listening to me? Now, when I was a kid, I was telling the guys today, I grew up in a great church. Pentecostal church, Spirit-filled, Word of Faith church. I remember the day where I was in a cell group. And this guy walked into my cell group and said, there's no need for us to fast ever again. Because fasting doesn't change God. Fasting doesn't move nothing. And as a 14-year-old kid, I bought into that. Are you listening? And some of you have bought into that. Because we say, Jesus said, can the bride fast as long as the bridegroom is still with them? But he didn't stop there. He said, but a day is coming when the bridegroom shall be taken up Greek word airo, taken up into the air. And that happened on the day of ascension. Are you listening? It happened on the day of what? Ascension. The angel says, "You men of Galilee," right? This same Jesus which you see taken up. The Greek word airo. Then it behooved the disciples to fast. Now, I'm going to give you several definitions of fasting, and I'm going to hit you with 3 benefits of fasting. That if that doesn't make you fast, I don't know what will make you fast. The disciples came to Jesus and said, "Lord, teach us to pray, even as John taught his disciples to pray." Right? Then the disciples, the Pharisees, came and said to Jesus, "Why do we and the disciples of John fast often and your disciples do not?" So what do we know about John the Baptist? He taught his disciples 2 things: to fast and to pray. Right? Now, listen to this. Jesus said, "These things cometh not out but by what? Prayer and fasting." I want you to write this down, never forget this. There are some things that will never come into your life until you learn to fast and pray.
Well, I hope that you are enjoying that word that you've been hearing. But I want to give you some more information about fasting from this book. Now, when you are fasting, you've set your month of January to fast and to seek God. What is it that you're doing when you are fasting? Fasting, number 1, is humbling yourself before God and turning towards Him, which means that you're saying to God, I am not looking to my own hands. I'm not looking to my own wisdom, to my own education, to my own intellect to get things done. I want to follow you. So when I'm fasting, I am literally humbling myself before the Lord and turning towards Him so that I can receive direction, instruction for a better life. You're saying to God, you are the number one in my life. I'm not going to do things the way I used to do, but I'm going to do things the way you want me to do. And when you follow God, when you humble yourself before God, things will change for the better for you. Number 2, when you're fasting, what is it you're doing? Now get this. Pay attention to this definition. Fasting is engaging God for spiritual, mental, physical, financial, ministerial, familial, municipal, and personal breakthrough. Now that's a mouthful, but it is loaded with revelation. Let me say it again. And I'm going to streamline it for you. Fasting is engaging God. When you are fasting, you are engaging God. When was the last time that you engaged God? And so in the month of January, as you are fasting, you are literally engaging God. You're about to create a platform for you to have a divine encounter. That's why I'm saying to you, fasting is engaging God for spiritual, mental, physical, financial, ministerial, familial, and personal breakthrough. You see, attached to fasting is breakthrough. Do you want breakthrough in 2019? Do you want more victories in 2019? Then it is imperative for you to seek God for direction in fasting and in prayer. Now, number 3, fasting is entreating God for divine intervention. Now, some of you, as you're watching me, last year you suffered. You suffered in your finances. You suffered in your family. You suffered in your health. You suffered on your job. And you need divine intervention. When you fast, you are literally calling for divine intervention. And anytime that God intervenes in a situation, it will always be for the betterment of the child of God. And I know that in 2019, you and we need divine intervention. And so when I'm fasting, I'm saying, God, I need you to step into the middle of my situation and stop the devil. Stop the onslaught of the enemy against my life. So this is why it's imperative for you to know how to fast. Number 4. Now listen to this one. Fasting is connecting with God. Now you can connect with people. You can connect with so-and-so. But no one can compare to God. So that's what I'm saying to you. Fasting is connecting with God to force the impossible to become possible. Now, did you hear what I just said? That is an amazing statement. Fasting, let me say it again, is connecting with God to force the impossible. Now, look at what I didn't say. I didn't say that fasting is forcing God. I said fasting is connecting with God to force the impossible to become possible. Whatever that the enemy has told you is impossible, whatever that people have told you in regards to your life is impossible, when you fast, when you connect with God, when you seek direction from God, it will force the impossible to bow before you and become possible. This is why it is imperative for you to know what fasting is and how to engage it properly. Now, let me give you another one. Number 5, fasting is making a demand upon the supply of the Spirit. It's the law of demand and supply. There can be no supply if there is no demand. So when you're fasting, you are making a demand upon the power of God and upon the supply of the Spirit. Now, I said to you that there is a tenfold definition that I give in this book. I've just given you 5 briefly. Now, this is why this book is highly important to you. Now, you can learn how to get this book by listening to the announcements that's coming your way. Ladies and gentlemen, today's offer is a must for you if you want to receive instruction from God. Where you go in life has everything to do with your prosperity. This is why it is imperative for you to tap into divine direction, and you can do that. The Word of God says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do, everywhere you go. He's the one who will keep you on track. Don't assume that you know it all. Run to God. In today's offer, we are helping you to run to God and stop trying to work things out by yourself. I'm sure you found yourself in a mess plenty of times trying to do things by yourself. You need to hear from the Holy Spirit. He is the master guide. Our offer of 2 books today, 101 Explosive Benefits of Fasting and Receiving Direction from Above, will set you on the right path. If you don't know what to do, if you're stuck in a rut and you're not sure what your next steps are, then you really need to take advantage of this offer today. For an offering of $25 plus shipping and handling, these 2 powerful books will be yours. Call the number on your screen, 502-523-4407, 502-523-4407, or go online at glennarekion.org. One of the reasons why we fast is to obtain direction from God. Now, you know, the book of Proverbs says this, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He shall direct your path. Now, that is a word of guarantee from God, that if we look for direction, He will give it to us. He will direct our path. So in our season of fasting, we are looking for direction from above. Now let me read that to you from a different translation. It goes like this. Same verses from the book of Proverbs. It says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. How many times you tried that? Listen for God's voice in everything that you do, everywhere that you go. Now, that's important, isn't it? That includes everything. It says, listen for God's voice in everything that you do and everywhere that you go. He's the one that will keep you on track. Now, did you hear that? He's the one that will keep you on track. Don't assume that you know it all. Run to God. Don't assume that you know it all. In other words, as great as your education is, or as great as you may have, I don't know how many degrees you got, but there are some things that your degrees and that your education can't help you with. You need the help of God. And that's why we've got to listen for His voice. You're fasting, you're believing God for direction, you want to hear from Him and you want to hear His voice. Why is direction from above important? Let me tell you why. Because it keeps you on the right track. You want to be on the right track. Secondly, is to avoid pitfalls and destruction. When you hear from God, He's going to lead you in the right way where there are no pitfalls and destruction. Number three, the reason why we want to hear direction from above and hear God's voice is to avoid stagnation in life. The moment you stop hearing from God, your life will begin to stagnate. The moment you stop hearing from God, your life will no longer be in the forward mode, but in the backward mode. Now, to keep your life in the forward mode, you need to be constantly listening and hearing from God. Now, number four, the reason why you want to receive direction from above is to do that which is right in God's eyes. You want to do that which is right in God's eyes. And also, the reason why we want to hear from God is because your prosperity is connected to your hearing. Let me say it again. Your healing is connected to your hearing. Your prosperity is connected to your hearing. Your breakthrough is connected to your hearing. That's why you're going to take the time to fast and to pray in order for you to receive direction from above, to hear from God. Don't think that you're starving yourself for the sake of starving yourself. You are not on a hunger strike when you are fasting. When you are fasting, you have positioned yourself for the supernatural. You have positioned yourself for breakthroughs. You have positioned yourself for the miraculous.
What does it mean to fast? Because I look at some of the old timers. When I was 27 years old, minding my own business in London one day, Lester Sumrall walked in our church. He was an old man. He looked at me and said, I'm in the office with him, just me and him. This old man looks at you and says, are you going to change the world, son? Now, what are you going to tell him? No. Yes, sir. He laid his hands on me. He said, receive the power. I felt electricity going through my body. He said, what you need is power. Now listen to this. And he told me this. Do these three things and you'll always be fine. Stick to the word. Stick to prayer. And stick to fasting. And you will go where your theology cannot take you. Stick with the word, stick with prayer, and stick with fasting. Now, here's our problem. What do we mean when we say fast? Well, it's to abstain from food. Well, that's dieting. Right? Now, let me give you quickly. I want you to write this down. What is fasting? What is fasting? What am I doing when I'm fasting? Write this down. Fasting is engaging God.
Now, you need to take advantage of today's offer. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life for the better. Fasting to hear the voice of God. Fasting for breakthroughs. Fasting for financial success. Fasting for your healing. Fasting for mega breakthroughs in your life. Call the number on your screen, 502-523-4407. 502-523-4407. We are waiting for your call. Or go online at glennarekion.org.
Go ye into all the world is a mandate given to every believer. However, not everybody's called to go on the mission field. But you can still play your part in the Great Commission and partner with Glen Arekion Ministries. Today, consider to be one of Dr. Glen's faithful, financial, and prayerful partners.